It doesn't matter what your name is.
You just made the list!
Rest in peace.
Tell me, he didn't just say that.
Brother, bro, brothers, bro, brothers, brother, brothers, brother, 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 brother.
You are not ready for.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line, cause Stone Cold said so.
All you have to do is believe!
So for the benefit of those with flash photography,
Brother, 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 brothers, brother.
And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for ya!
You're fired.
Woo, 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 woo!
Brother, 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 brothers, brother. If you smell.
Oh yeah! Yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, there's only one word to describe you.
Brother, 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 brother.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Hidden Gem Hunters. I'm Alec Burnitt, the Bookerman, alongside Mr. Peter Nixon once again. How you doing, Mr. Nixon? Are you okay?
Yeah, do you remember Shooting Stars? The TV show?
Yeah, I never watched it.
Oh, that was my Vic Reeves club singer.
Okay, right, do it. Do it again. Do it again. Same song. Go.
Okay.
Ah, okay, yeah, that's the AEW song, right?
It is! Well done!
Yeah, you practically said the word dynamite at the end of it. Though. Yeah, the bird. But I got one. That's the main thing.
Well, I'm proud of you.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks. And on that note, goodbye, everybody. Mission accomplished. Right. Today, we are talking about Starrcade 87 and our TV match this week, which was Adrian Neville against Rob Van Dam.
I'll tell you what. I assume we're going to do the TV match first.
Yes, let's get straight into that.
Yeah, let's jump straight in. I thought Van Dam and Neville was a really cool clash of generations.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I enjoyed it, and don't get me wrong, you weren't going to get it was on NXT TV, and it was you weren't going to get like match of the year.
No,
but it was a great TV main event, and like you say, a real good clash of innovative wrestlers from different generations.
Yeah, totally. I thought, even though Van Dam, he was past his prime at this point, I still thought he was able to do all of his old stuff, and maybe this was Van Dam, or one of Van Dam's last great matches.
Mm-hmm.
Because we came to Impact in 2019, for about a year. And he just wasn't really the same performer. He was having good matches, but they had to be gimmick matches for them to be.
Yeah, but that's a good solid 5 years after this point.
Exactly. Yeah, so I thought this was really cool. Van Dam was able to do all of his old spots with someone who was very relevant, very up and coming and very then and now. So, yeah, like I said, really cool cross-generational match.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I'm really glad that we watched this one this week because I really enjoyed it, and also reminded me of how much I liked this era Tyler Breeze.
Oh yeah.
I didn't quite, because I wasn't clued in on what was happening story wise at the time. I'm not 100% sure what Tyler Breeze's music video was, but they talked about it a lot on commentary, which makes me want to go and watch it. But yeah, this match was really, really good. It was something that had been mentioned, and I didn't even know this took place prior to this podcast starting and having it suggested. I wasn't aware of it. I'd never seen it prior that I'm aware of. Yeah, I thought this was really, really good. Another really good suggestion.
Yeah, definitely. I don't personally think it's a hidden gem, but thank you to whoever suggested it, because I had a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The main course of today's meal of wrestling, I don't know where I'm going with this, is is Starrcade 87. So this was the first NWA pay-per-view event. And we discussed it at the end of the previous episode when we drew this show, that this happened on the exact same night as Survivor Series 87. Survivor Series was put into place to try and get one over on this show. So this was an interesting one, and you'd kind of expect that this show would completely knock it out of the park. Obviously, we'll get into whether or not we thought it did that, but my hopes were high going into this. How about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, Starrcade was the original granddaddy of them all. And like you said, when they're going up against the WWF on the same night, you'd think, they'll go balls to the wall. They'll throw their very, very best on this card to try and take viewers away from the WWF, who were promoting Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant in the same ring for the first time since WrestleMania 3. So they had their work cut out for them.
Yeah, absolutely, and I just think that it massively got my hopes up. Mm-hmm. And that was the thing. I definitely thought that this, got my hopes up, and I was ready for this to completely blow me away. But we will get into exactly what was on this show. So we kicked this show off with a 6-man tag.
Indeed, it was a hot opener. I thought there was some good action in this one. It was Sting and the Freebirds. I haven't written it down. Who against Eddie Gilbert?
Eddie Gilbert, Larry Zbyszko, and Rick Steiner.
That's right.
Yeah. So for me, I thought this was an odd choice to open, simply because the match went to a 15-minute draw. I just thought that was an odd choice for a finish for the opener.
I agree with you. I think it was the right choice for the opener, just the wrong choice for the finish. Because, was it like a 10-minute time limit draw? It
was a 15-minute.
The match was only just getting started, really. There was only just kicking it into gear. And then ding, ding, time limit was expired. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
It was very, very flat.
Yeah, I loved in this. I loved Michael Hayes' hot tag. It was a really, really good hot tag. It's interesting seeing, because Rick Steiner and Sting were brand new to the NWA at this point.
Yeah.
So, because as we'll see throughout this show, this is where NWA, WCW had took over or purchased the UWF.
That's right.
So several of their guys were coming into the NWA. Sting being one of the main ones, and so it was really interesting seeing the beginning of his run. Not the star he would become yet, but you see glimpses of it.
Yeah, totally. And this was a few months before Sting challenged Ric Flair on the first ever Clash of the Champions, which was a TV show programmed against WrestleMania 4. So it's all kind of coming full circle.
Yeah, a little bit tit for tat.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I enjoyed this as an opener. I just did not like the finish.
Yeah, exactly the same. I scored it a 6.
Yep, I went with a 6 also. I think that is fair. With a, like I say, if it had gone, it's strange saying a 15-minute match going a little bit longer, but I felt like it could have gone longer once it started to kick into gear. And I just didn't like the finish.
Yeah.
At all. So it could have gone higher. Potential was there for higher, but it didn't get it. Match number 2 was Dr. Death Steve Williams defending the UWF Heavyweight Championship against Barry Windham. This only went 6 minutes and 50 seconds. What did you make of match number 2?
I don't know. There was a couple of good spots in this. I like the Doc Leapfrog, which Barry ran straight into. I thought that was cool. And the finish with Barry's missed crossbody where he spills to the outside.
Yeah.
It was a cool visual, but then Doc just rolled him up, and that was the finish. And that had no heat as well. Yeah, and I even at one point heard the crowd chanting "boring" in this match.
Yeah, and to be a boring match that's under 7 minutes, you know, it shouldn't have the opportunity to get boring in that time.
Even, involving two exciting workers like Dr. Death and Barry Windham, I expected a lot more from these two.
Yeah, I think that was my main problem with this. Was that this era Barry Windham was incredible.
Yeah,
one of the best baby faces in the world, and Dr. Death is everything in a wrestler that I claim to be a fan of, and every time we've seen him in these reviews, I've come away disappointed. So maybe I don't like Dr. Death as much as I thought I did. But yeah, this just wasn't. It just didn't click. It just wasn't as exciting as I wanted it to be. Yeah, I just expected better. I scored this a 5.
I also went with a 5.
We have a pattern emerging.
We know each other too well now.
This is it. Match number 3 was the scaffold match, the Midnight Express against the Rock and Roll Express. 10 minutes and 23 seconds. And what did you make of this scaffold match?
Well, I mean, this was one of the gimmick matches to try and get eyes away from Survivor Series, wasn't it? Yeah, this was a big attraction, but you know, it's all about the spectacle of two blokes falling off the scaffold.
Yeah.
Aside from that, as a match, it's hard to, you know, really get going when you're working on top of a 20-foot scaffold, which is it looked rickety as fuck. It was tiny. Like, how could they possibly work up there? I noted that Beautiful Bobby, to avoid taking dangerous bumps, he was bumping on his knees. I thought, Christ, he's going to do himself an injury there. I did like Robert Gibson unattaching the rail and using that as a weapon. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, good little bit there. But it's just with this type of match, there's too much stalling and careful punching, because you know no one wants to fall, but no one also wants to be the person to cause someone else to fall. So everyone's being super careful, not just for themselves, but for everyone else. And you can understand them being so careful, but it's it doesn't make for the most dynamic of match.
Can you hear me all right? I've just got I've had Dinky jump onto my lap. So she's
Yeah,
half
yeah.
on the lap, half on the laptop.
Yeah. You be wherever you want to be, Dink.
You don't need to tell her, she'll do that anyway.
Exactly. She is the boss. So yeah, I can't help but think when seeing Midnight Express against Rock and Roll Express that I'd just rather watch a normal tag match.
Totally.
You know, for as much as the spectacle is the scaffold match. The scaffold match was never a good match.
No.
And we saw that when it kind of came back in TNA with the Elevation X.
Yeah.
Which was a fancy scaffold match, and it was rubbish. But
yeah, I think they did it twice.
Yeah, it gets your interest up. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'd seen scaffold matches and always thought they were rubbish. And then TNA promoted Elevation X, and you kind of knew what it was going to be. But I was so hyped for it. I was like, oh, this will be amazing. And then it happened. I was like, oh yeah, I remember why people stopped doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make for the best. Doesn't make for the best viewing. So what did you score this?
Well, because of the admiration, I guess, of these guys being able to do what they were able to do on top of a scaffold, and then for the Midnights to take those horrendous bumps into the ring, I gave it a 6. I thought even when Big Bubba climbed on top of the scaffold, I thought it was anticlimactic that he didn't fall off the scaffold too. But then I realized a man like that, would the ring have survived that fall? Would he have survived that fall?
Yeah. I agree. I also went with 6. And I do think that we're both being very generous 6.
Yeah.
But still, it definitely doesn't deserve anything more than that. But it was okay for what it was. It just I don't think there's a lot you can really do with the scaffold match restrictions.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this show though carried on into match 4 with the so this was the TV Championship unification match. The NWA TV champion Nikita Koloff against Terry Taylor, who was the UWF TV champion. This was up to this point the longest match on the show, and all this again shows me is Terry Taylor was so underappreciated and underrated.
I totally agree. One of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast in the first place was because I saw Terry Taylor versus Beautiful Bobby from Halloween Havoc 91. And middle of the card, they got 16 minutes, and the match was... You all right, Dink? Yeah, she's all right. 16 minutes, middle of the card. The match was phenomenal. And a match that I didn't even know was on the show, because it was cut from the VHS release. So I never saw it until I got the WWE Network. Anyway, I've gone off on a tangent. Terry Taylor was fantastic, and was involved in some great matches that I'd never talked about, because when people talk about Terry Taylor, all they ever talk about is the Red Rooster. Yeah. So when I saw this match on the card, Taylor versus Nikita Koloff, Shatorta, I didn't have high hopes, because Nikita Koloff wasn't the best worker in the world, but we saw, when he went in there with people like Ric Flair, he was capable of great matches. Yeah. And I thought this was pretty good.
Agreed. Yeah. Again, I thought, in agreeing with you, and it's a little bit boring that we're agreeing with each other so much, but I thought Nikita was good in this. And you said that he was good against guys like Flair. But Terry Taylor has similarities to Ric Flair, and Terry Taylor was a very good worker. And Nikita has such great intensity. Yeah, and I enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was. I thought Terry Taylor had several really good runs, and the Red Rooster stuff is a shame that he's remembered for that and not for his other stuff. I also heard a rumor one time. I don't know how much truth there is to it, but apparently the two people in the running for the $1 Million Man gimmick was Ted DiBiase and Terry Taylor.
Yeah.
And Terry Taylor got the Red Rooster instead.
Poor guy.
Gutted.
Yeah.
Gutted.
The way Vince, this is what Bruce Pritchard said on his podcast. The way Vince McMahon pitched the Red Rooster, he wanted Terry Taylor to be the cock and the walk, to be a flamboyant but cocky babyface, which Taylor had, totally had the ability to do. But Taylor took it literally to become a rooster. And I think if Terry had just taken the gimmick more seriously, and put some effort into it as opposed to just phoning it in, Taylor would have been an upper mid card draw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this TV title unification match, I thought was very good. It was quite long, 18 minutes 58 seconds. I thought maybe they could have trimmed a little off of that. It might have gone slightly too long, but I did really enjoy this, and I gave it a 7.
I also gave it a 7. I liked the way the match was structured. Nikita using his power to dominate early, and then Taylor getting some good heel heat in the middle. But then the cheating of Eddie Gilbert led to Taylor's demise, and the crowd were hot for the finish.
Mm-hmm.
The crowd were ecstatic when Nikita won the match and unified the titles. So yeah, I gave it a 7 as well. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. And following on from that was what was, in my opinion, the best match on this show, which was the Tag Team Championship match. Tully and Arn against the Road Warriors. I really enjoyed this. And in fact, when we get to the scores, I might have even gone a little higher if the finish was better.
Yep, I totally agree with you. I loved the way the Road Warriors, they were so powerful, but they had control with their power. Not like Ultimate Warrior, for example, who was reckless. It was powerful but reckless. The Road Warriors, they muscled up Tully and Arn throughout this match, but they guided them down with beautiful bumps. And that's what I really admired about the Road Warriors. Yeah,
they had the power to pick you up, but they had the power to put you down exactly where they wanted you to go.
Yeah.
And this is a match where I think I said in one of the previous episodes about the Road Warriors and how they didn't need to be against big guys to sell. In fact, they didn't really sell for the big guys, but they would sell for Tully and Arn and the Midnight Express and teams like that. Probably because they were no threat to their spot as kind of muscly, power teams might have been, but they weren't afraid to sell for teams. That's kind of a bit of a misconception, a bit of a myth over the years that they wouldn't sell for people. This being an example, and this is right around the time Tully and Arn became a regular tag team, because they've both been in the Horsemen, but Arn had previously tagged with Ole Anderson, Tully being more of the single guy underneath Flair. And they'd started their run, and they were already one of the best teams in the world at this point. And I thought this was, amazing chemistry. I love Arn Anderson's eyes when like Hawk grabs him by the throat. I don't know
Oh,
if you recall that.
Arn played a great coward in this match.
Yes.
Yeah, totally agree. I loved the cut off. Arn took out Hawk's leg because he went to the well one too many times, pushing, pressing Tully over his head. Arn just took out the leg. I thought that was awesome. A simple, effective cut off.
Yeah. And Animal's hot tag, always good. And I just, it was great pop for the Doomsday device.
Yep.
Just didn't like the finish. So the finish involved the over the top rope rule and the reversal of the decision, kinda, with the fans believing the Road Warriors had won. I didn't like it for this type of show. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like sometimes, I think it has changed a little bit recently, but it always used to be the thing with the big babyface wins at the biggest show of the year.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. Like, I felt like this show almost needed that Road Warrior win on here. I thought it would have been perfect. But I guess we were saving that big babyface pop for Dusty, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. No one outshines Dusty on the biggest show. And this, was a classic Dusty finish. And for me, it brought the match rating down from a 9 to an 8.
Yeah, I actually completely agree with that. It's such a shame because it's one of the best tag matches that we've reviewed so far, I think. Yeah. Up until the finish.
Yeah.
So that went 13 minutes and 27 seconds. So it wasn't like of what they class kind of epic length.
No.
But it was the right length. It wasn't. It didn't overstay its welcome. It was good. Didn't drag.
Exactly.
Next up in match 6 was the United States Championship versus Dusty's Career. This was Lex Luger and Dusty Rhodes inside the cage. This went 16 minutes and 28 seconds. This was all right.
Yeah.
It's Dusty against a box of muscles. I think Luger was better than he gets credit for. Another one's better than he gets credit for.
Yeah, we spoke about Luger in previous episodes being better than people give him credit for.
Yeah, I get the impression that like if Luger came about now, people would think he was great.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he was just surrounded by so many good people that he didn't look as good as he maybe was, but I don't know.
Or maybe the opposite is true. Maybe he was surrounded by such good workers that pulled him up to their level.
Maybe. Dusty in this, I think his comebacks are always amazing. I've got a couple of little notes here. I enjoyed this, but I didn't love this.
I totally agree. I thought Luger looked impressive with his power, even getting Dusty up in the rack at one point. He wasn't able to hold him up there, but he just sort of pushed him into the cage. So it was safe, but yeah, just the fact that he even got him up there was really cool.
Do you think that this match being a cage match took away from the main event?
Not really. I think they needed to throw everything at this show, like we talked about earlier. So 2 cage matches plus a scaffold match. I think they did it on purpose. I don't think it took away from the world title match.
Okay. This was another sort of odd finish, didn't you think?
Yeah. I thought it was a shitty DDT that Dusty gave him on the chair. So, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the finish.
But yeah, Dusty rules the roost, and he saves his career and wins the US title, and
Yeah, and the peasants rejoice.
yeah, everything's right in the world.
Yeah.
And that brings us to our main event.
I gave that match a 6, by the way.
We didn't
US
do
title.
scores, did we? We didn't do scores. Yeah, I also gave that match a 6, and we continue our run of completely agreeing with each other this week.
Are we perfect? Like, have we matched each other perfectly for this show?
Yeah,
Jesus.
identical scores so far.
That's
Yeah. Quite disappointed with that.
well, it had to happen at some point.
Yeah, true. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we are watching the exact same stuff, so it was going to happen at some point. Our main event, though, was once again inside the cage. This is the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Ronnie Garvin, defending against Ric Flair. This was 17 minutes and 38 seconds. And this was good. I thought this was the better cage match of the two.
Oh, easily.
Yeah. But for me, Garvin just doesn't feel like a big enough deal. He doesn't feel like a main event guy for the biggest show.
Garvin sucks. Garvin sucks. Garvin sucks. Even in 1987, there were smart marks in Chicago.
Yeah, Garvin just didn't do it for me as a top guy.
No, I feel you. I think he was a good promo, a better promo than people give him credit for.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel, Alec Burnitt, about the Garvin stomp?
Not a fan.
I don't know how I feel about it. Because when you sit and think about it and you watch him do it and the way Flair sells it, it does kind of make sense that he's just going to stomp every single body part in a circular motion, but it's still somewhat daft.
Yeah. I didn't know this was going to be such a hot topic for you.
The
really...
stomp was a massive topic. Forget that submarine. This is breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news from the main event of Starrcade 87.
Yeah, 36 years ago.
Yeah, all the chops were pretty brutal.
Yeah, I loved the chop for chop start. I thought that was really cool. Very Japanese.
Yeah. So I another little story about these two, and they're working all of the shows, all the house shows, and all of that, doing their run of matches against each other. The story goes that they would chop the ever-loving hell out of each other every single day, to the point where they'd completely, like, top layer of skin just gone.
Yeah.
So they would need to, like, antiseptic cream their chests, and then go out again and just smash hell out of each other, and then just bleeding everywhere from the chest, and that just sounds horrible and scabbing.
I bet that stung.
Yeah, rank. Because I imagine back then the rings also weren't the cleanest things in the world, and lots of chance for infection and things. It just sounds brutal to me. But yeah, I did enjoy this. I like the sunset flip off the ropes by Garvin. I thought this was good. It was a good main event, but you kind of always knew Flair was going to win. I mean, I knew ahead of time anyway, but I felt like that Garvin got the belt just to lose it back to Flair on this show.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think it was almost a token of appreciation for Garvin's work over the years. Oh, here's the belt for a couple of months, but Flair's taken it back at Starrcade.
Yeah. I remember this match being on a DVD set that I got when I was a teenager. It was like the greatest cage matches DVD, and this was on there, and I remember enjoying it when I was younger. And I did enjoy watching it back. It didn't blow me away though. It wasn't something that I thought was, incredible. And I ended up giving this match a 7.
I also went with a 7, which
No.
means totally perfect over
No.
the. What are the chances of that?
Why are you doing this to me?
Why did you do it to me?
This is shocking. I don't know. Scored everything the same. I guessed the song at the start. A topsy-turvy world we live in.
And here's another thing that we're bound to agree on. So, Flair used the knee breaker into the figure 4, which I've always enjoyed when Flair did that. Flair really worked on Garvin's leg in this match, right?
Yeah.
As soon as Garvin was out of the figure 4, no sold it the rest of the match.
Yeah. It's that sort of thing that irritates me, as you know.
It irritated me. It took me out of the match.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that, and obviously this is 1987, so it's not something that just shows it's not something isolated to modern day wrestling.
Yeah.
Because it is something that does irritate me, and it's something that in modern day, we've had conversations when I was a guest on your old Impact Wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
And we spoke several times about I believe Speedball Mike Bailey was the topic.
That's right.
There was a match. Was it him and Trey Miguel maybe?
No, I think the match we were talking about was Speedball and Josh, the hour-long match on Impact.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and it was taking away the kicks and because he was working for the ankle lock.
Yeah,
that was it. But then all of his comebacks were kick based, and I'm thinking, well, that doesn't make any sense. But anyway, we're completely off topic. But it does show that it's not just a modern wrestling problem. It is something that happens all throughout history, and I don't like it. I
am with you. I do agree, but some matches I think can not get away with it, but you can overlook it a bit more because of fighting spirit.
Yeah. I think that it is one of those things that can really turn what could be a great match into a decent match or a good match, because it's that sort of thing that can really take me out of a match. Because if you really buy in, and what you really want is, if your babyface is selling like crazy on an injury, and you're really buying into that story that they're telling, it just shits all over you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If they then just go, okay, you've just spent 10 minutes really getting bought into this, and now we're just going to ignore that. And obviously, I think it bugs me more when it's almost when it's selective selling. So you'll sell it for a sec, and then you'll do something that completely ignores it, and then it's almost like remembering, wait, I'm meant to be selling, and then you go back to it again, and then you just forget, and then it's just sometimes really, really frustrating. But yeah, so that happened in this match a little bit, but that does mean that we both gave that a 7. We agreed all the way through on every single match and its score. And that actually gives this overall show a 6.4.
Okay. That has to be one of our higher rated shows then.
Yeah. I think that's because there was nothing really bad on this show.
Yeah, the lowest score was a 5, and that was the second match. Everything else was between 6 and 8.
Yeah, so there was nothing really bad. There was nothing as well that really blew me away, and that I really would be going. I don't think there's a hidden gem here.
No,
Um,
I'm with you.
I think the closest we got to that was obviously with the tag match with a better finish. We could have been, itching towards that maybe, but that's the closest we came with this show, unfortunately. But overall, it was a fun watch.
Yeah, definitely. I did enjoy going back and watching this. First time I've seen it. Like you, I had seen the main event, but it's been years since I've seen it.
Yeah.
Everything else was fresh for me.
Yeah. I think I think I may have seen the scaffold match before. I mean, there's a chance I've seen odd bits and bobs, but that I remember, and obviously I remember the main event. As I say, it was on one of those cage match DVDs from years ago.
Yeah, I think I had that DVD. It was a blue
case. Yeah.
Blue.
Yeah, and randomly it had a really good cage match on there between Triple H and Rock from like one of the UK pay-per-views.
Yeah, Rebellion.
That's it. Yeah. I thought that I remember being really, really good.
Yeah.
I think there was a bulldog in his jeans running, I think.
Yeah. Because I'm bizarre.
Yes, you are. Yes, that wraps up this show. No hidden gem found this week.
Oh.
But
it is my favourite part of the week. Maybe if we get a good enough show, we'll find another hidden gem.
Let's see then, shall we? Let's run this random number generator and get ourselves a show to look at next week. Okay, let's have a little look here. What are we gonna get? Let me just fire this bad boy up.
Just to refresh the listeners, we've got 2 hidden gems on our list so far, and that would be Ricky Steamboat versus Rick Rude from Beach Blast 92, and Randy Orton versus Dolph Ziggler from Night of Champions 2012.
Absolutely, and we may find one next week. We may not. We have number 243.
Ooh, okay. So I'm thinking mid to late 2000s.
Earlier.
Early 2000s.
So we are in early 2001.
Okay.
We are. Let me just grab the date of this show. See if you can guess which one it is from the date. March 18th, 2001.
Is it Greed? Is it WCW Greed?
WCW Greed.
It's the final WCW pay-per-view. So we're going from the first ever WCW pay-per-view or NWA pay-per-view.
I didn't even think of that. Didn't even think of that.
How cool is that?
Yeah. So WCW Greed from 2001 is how we are going to move forward with next week's show. And I'm quite excited about that.
You know, I don't know if I've seen the whole show, but I can certainly tell you what the main event is. Because I think I can.
Yeah, I know what the main event is. Yeah, it's it's Steiner and DDP.
That's right. And there is a tag team match, father and son versus father and son, kinda. yeah. But I tell you what, I do know about this show is because I have seen it. I've seen it a couple of times in the past. There are some good matches on here, and there is the finals of the Cruiserweight Tag Team Championship tournament. Oh yeah, I have seen that match, but it's been probably 20 years since I've seen it.
Which is very good, and I won't give too much away, but the opener is really good.
Okay, looking forward to that.
And it's two people that you maybe wouldn't expect it to be as good as it is, and it's really good.
Okay.
So
Right,
I will
looking forward
I
to
will leave it
this.
there. Yeah, I'll leave that there. WCW Greed then next week. And do you have a TV match for us this week?
I don't have one prepared, but I'm sure I can find one. I guess you have
Had a
one
few
ready.
suggestions. I have a couple of suggestions here as well, so
Okay.
I can pull those up and see what we think.
Yeah. Okay. I'll let you choose.
Okay. Let me just pull this little list up. So, is that all you can? Just while I'm doing this, is that all you can recall from Greed? Is it?
Hmm.
Did you watch it at the time or?
Yeah, pretty much. I think. Oh, would Booker T have been on the show in some capacity? I know they were doing a thing where Steiner rolls through all of his competition. That means people like Goldberg, Sting, the Kevin Nash, some of the big world title contenders. He'd taken them all out. So yeah, there's a little bit of a lack of star power in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know it's Dusty and Dustin versus Ric Flair and Jeff Jarrett.
Yes, that is on there. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember anything else.
Okay. So I do have a couple of suggestions for TV match. So I'd like your input on this on these choices.
Okay.
So one of them is from. So this is. It depends what era you want to go to. So there's a tag team match that's been suggested from 2016 on Raw.
Okay. Quite
Okay, and
modern.
and this was the New Day, Kofi and Big E,
Mm-hmm.
against AJ Styles and Chris Jericho.
Okay, interesting.
So I think this was just before AJ and Jericho built up to their Mania match, I think.
Yeah, and they were calling themselves Y2AJ.
Yeah, because that's a good name.
It's rotten, isn't it?
It's really bad. It's really bad. And and the other suggestion that I have is a match from 1997.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember this match, but this is from Raw as well.
Right.
And this is Mankind against Shawn Michaels from Raw.
Is
And
it
it's
like
about
September? Around about that time of the year.
Possibly. I don't know because I'm looking at the date, and the date may have been written down American.
Right.
So it's either the 11th of August or the 8th of November, 97. So it would have been roughly a year after their match at Mind Games, which is like one of the best matches I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen the Mankind Shawn match. So let's
Okay.
go. Let's go with New Day and Y2AJ.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. So that is 2016. So let me just grab that one back up again. And yeah, so that's my guess, because this says 3-7, but it wouldn't have been that late in the year because they would have been building to Mania. So I'm guessing that's the 7th of March then.
March 7th. Lovely.
2016. AJ Styles and Chris Jericho against the New Day.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that's probably the most modern match that we've watched.
Yeah.
So, but I have been told that it is very, very good. Yeah, so I'm very much looking forward to that, and looking forward to WCW Greed as well.
Très bien.
Yeah, that pretty much wraps up this week's show. Anything else from you, Mr. Nixon?
No, just carry on supporting wrestling, and I'll see some of you coming up at Wembley All In.
You won't see me there, buddy.
Oh, that's a shame. You're missing out. Bud.
Yeah, it is a shame. I did consider it, but I would have had to cancel a gig to be there. So,
Fair enough.
which I didn't want to do. So, I am very much looking forward to watching it. But yeah, I will not be there. But I know you'll have a fantastic time. A couple of weeks before that is the biggest show this summer.
Oh yes.
Oh yes, August the 12th in Great Yarmouth for Peter Nixon's Beach Bowl Mania 5. Can you believe it's number 5?
I honestly can't.
It's crazy, right?
the fifth one. Yeah, it's the most fun show on the DOA calendar.
Yeah, it's. I've likened it before to WCW's Halloween Havoc, in that it was not technically, like they would say that Starrcade was the main show, but Halloween Havoc always felt like the best one.
Yeah, it's always where shit went down.
Yeah, exactly. So we gear up the anniversary show every year, as you know.
10-year anniversary show this year, bud.
Mate, you don't have to tell me. It's aged me 30 in that 10.
Yeah.
No, you're not meant to agree.
Oh no, I feel your pain.
Yeah,
It's feel your pain.
Yeah, it's 10 whole years of DOA, and this summer leading into that 10-year anniversary is going to be really cool, and there is some really cool stuff planned, which I can't reveal just yet, but do keep your eyes peeled. And also a couple of shows after that will be DOA 100.
Oh,
should be our 100th show in November of this year, which again another really cool milestone. So yeah, there are lots of exciting stuff happening, and you will be a part of quite a lot of it, hosting several of those shows, and yeah, it's I'm just very excited about what we've got to come at DOA, and I'm very excited about what's to come on Hidden Gem Hunters with Greed next week.